Yeah, okay. We can start right now, right? Yeah. Yeah, don't go on. Be loud. Looks like a joke. I need cameras, you don't know. Right, we'll be like, don't go on. It's on you.
I.S.U.P.K started out one best GEN.YAHANNA. Also another GEN.YAHANNA radio show.
Hold on.
They don't care. Like they say they want answers, they want out of the situation, but we tell you about the truth today. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Nah. Don't bother, just tell them my TITHES.
I don't want.
That's fine.
I'll come a chair.
What is it?
I'll come
a chair. I know so if anything, if you get all like the course up late.
Is it open?
Yeah, we're up and running. It's the microphone. Ayala, get down.
All right, this is the I.S.U.P.K Purim class. One of our feast days. It's I.S.U.P.K on the Commanding GEN.YAHANNA. Also, remember, check out Commanding GEN.YAHANNA's radio show, which is Monday, 2 a.m. UK time. Also, we have classes in the States, Tuesday through Friday, which is midnight our time. And also, we have classes here, Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. The history class on the Monday, the law class on the Wednesday, and the scripture breakdown class on the Thursday. So today we got Purim, 2-day feast, Monday and Tuesday. So we're going to be going into a bit of Purim and what it's about and whatnot. And then we're going to go into the rest of it tomorrow. So we're going to do half today and half of it tomorrow. Also, we got Passover coming up. Passover will be booked by, we want it booked by, is it next week? Next week or the week after?
Next week after.
Yeah, within the next 2 weeks. So we need that book within the next 2 weeks so we all can be on the same flight and travel together. If you could start from Esther 1:1.
Esther 1:1. Now it came to pass in the days of Ahasuerus that this Ahasuerus reigned from India even to Ethiopia.
So this what's his name?
Ahasuerus,
he reigned from India to Ethiopia. So this man reigned from country to country. He had like basically you could say colonies and so forth. Go ahead.
Over 120 provinces.
He had over 127 provinces, meaning he ruled over 127 places. So he was the big man in charge, and obviously he had men underneath him that was in over these provinces, his princes under him and so forth. Go ahead.
That in those days, when the king Ahasuerus sat on the throne of the kingdom, which was in Shushan.
So it says it sat on the kingdom which was in Shushan. Today, Shushan is in Iran. Go ahead. That's where Shushan is. Go ahead.
Verse 3. In the 3rd year of his reign, he made a feast unto all his princes.
So the 3rd year of his reign, he made a feast to all his princes, meaning all of his men that was under him, that ruled over all his provinces. Go ahead.
God. And servants, the power of the Persians and the Medes.
The power of the Persians and the Medes. Go ahead.
The nobles and princes of his provinces.
So all his men under him, his servants, his princes, his nobles, he made a feast to all of them. Go ahead.
When he showed the riches and the glorious kingdom and the honor of his excellent majesty many days, even 104 days. And when these days were expired, the king made a feast unto all the people that were present in Shushan.
So after that, he made a feast to all the people that was present in Shushan, which is Iran. Go ahead.
Great and small, 7 days in the court of the garden.
So whether he was great and small, they all feasted 7 days. Go ahead.
Where were white, green, and blue hangings, fashioned with cords of fine linen, and purple to gold rings and pillars of marble. The bed were of gold and silver upon the pavement of red and blue and white and black marble.
So this is all the decorations and so forth and how they were dressed and whatnot. Go ahead.
And they gave them drink in vessels of gold.
And they gave them drink in vessels of gold. Now it's like a gold cup. They had real gold cups back then. So they was drinking out of real gold cups, which just lets you know how rich this king was. Go ahead.
Diverse one from another.
And all these gold vessels, these gold cups that they was drinking out of was all diverse one from another. Meaning the ore was different. One probably had a different pattern to the other and so forth. Go ahead.
And royal wine in abundance.
And they had raw wine, the good wine. Go ahead.
According to the state of the king. And the drinking was according to the law.
Go ahead.
None did compel. For so the king was appointed to all the officers of his house.
Go ahead.
That they should do according to every man's pleasure. Also Vashti the queen made a feast for the woman.
So Vashti the queen, this was his woman at the time, the king's woman at the time. She made a feast for the women. Go ahead.
In the royal house which belonged to King Ahasuerus.
And this house also belonged to him. So she made a feast for the women in that house. Go ahead.
On the 7th day, when the heart of the king was merry with wine, he commanded Zakia, Mehuman, Biztha, and Habana, Bigger and Abaga, Zakar and Carcass, the 7 chamberlains that served in the presence of Ahasuerus the king.
Go ahead.
To bring Vashti the queen before the king.
So his heart was merry, meaning he was happy, he was drinking, he felt good, and he told them to bring Vashti the queen to him, because back then the king would just call whoever he wants to come to him. So at this time he called Vashti, which was the queen of Persia at the time. Go ahead.
To show the people the princes of her beauty.
So he wanted her to come to show the people her beauty and so forth. Go ahead.
For she was fair to look upon.
So she was fair to look upon. Back then, fair meant beautiful. Nowadays, people read fair and think it means what, light skin. People think fair nowadays means light skin when fair just meant beautiful. So in the Bible, when you see the word there was fair to look upon, it just means there was good looking, beautiful, and so forth. Go ahead.
But the queen Vashti refused to come to the king's commandment.
And then the queen called for her to come up, but she refused to come up. So she's meant to listen to the king, but she refused to come up. She refused to listen to the king's commandment. Go ahead.
Therefore was the king very wroth.
And obviously at first the king was merry. He was happy. He wanted the queen to come up. She said no, she's not going to come up. And then once they returned to the king and she said she's not going to come up, obviously the king was very rough, meaning he was mad. Go ahead.
And his anger burned in him. Then the king said to the wise men, which knew the times.
And then he said to some wise men, the men underneath him, go ahead.
For so was the king's manner toward all that knew law and judgment. And the next unto him was Karshana and Shatar and Amaphah and Tarshish and Mershus and Marsina and Mamukan, the 7 princes of Persia and Media, which saw the king's face.
So these are the 7 princes of Persia and the Medes, right? And they saw his face, that it was rough and whatnot. These are the princes under him that's ruling his provinces and so forth. Go ahead.
And which sat at the first in the kingdom, what shall we do unto Queen Vashti according to the law? So
now they said, all right then, according to the law, this is the law of the king is talking about. What should we do unto her? Because obviously everyone back then used to have to listen to what the king says. This queen didn't want to listen to the king. She didn't want to come up when he called her up. So obviously he was mad. So they looked in his face and seen that he was mad. So they're asking him, so what should we do unto her? Go ahead.
Because she have not performed the commandment of the king.
For she have what?
Not performed the commandment of the king.
So they didn't know what to do to her because she didn't perform the commandment of the king. Usually people perform the commandment of the king, but this lady didn't. Go ahead.
By the chamberlains, and Memucan answered before the king, the princes, and the princes, Vashti the queen, have not done wrong to the king only, but also to all the princes, to all
so they said, she just hasn't wronged you. She's wronged all the princes, all the people, and everybody else. Go ahead.
that are in the king's provinces.
And they said, you've wronged all the people that are in the king's provinces. So you've wronged all the people who the king reigns over from India all the way to Ethiopia. Go ahead.
For this deed of the queen shall come abroad unto all women.
And then they said, what she's done is going to come abroad unto all women. So they see that Vashti didn't listen to the king, which is going to make women what? Not want to listen to their man, not want to listen to the man that rules over them. So the king was saying he can't have that. Because if she don't listen to the king's commandment, if you're a regular man, what you think your woman's going to listen to your commandment? No way. Go ahead.
So that they shall despise their husbands.
So that what?
They shall despise their husbands.
So the king was saying, the way Vashti despised me and didn't come up when I called her, this is going to be noised abroad. And all these women with husbands, they're going to start to dishonor their heads. They're going to start to not listen to their husbands and so forth. Go ahead.
It shall be reported, the king commanded Vashti the queen to be brought into him, but she came not.
And the king, obviously, you know the king has all the power and everybody needs to listen to the king. So if there's a woman out there that didn't listen to the king, king's basically saying, if she gets away with it, all these other women are going to do it and so forth. Go ahead.
Likewise shall the ladies of Persia and Media say this day unto all the king's princes, which have heard of the deed of the queen, thus shall there arise too much contempt and wrath. If it please the king, let there go a royal commandment from him, and let it be written among the laws of the Persians and the Medes, that it shall not be altered, that Vashti come no more before the king.
So he told her to come up. She said, no, she's not coming up. So they wanted it in writing that it not be altered, that she come up no more before the king. They didn't want her to come up to the king no more, because she didn't come up when he called her. So this is basically him basically not dealing with her no more. Go ahead.
And let the king give royal estate unto another that is better than she.
So because she didn't want to listen to the king, his princes said unto him, get you someone better than her that will listen, that will come up and so forth. Go ahead.
And when the king's decree, which he shall make, shall be published throughout all his empire, for it is great, all the wives shall give their husbands honor, both great and small.
Go ahead. So they said, once this is done, established, the wives are going to give their husbands all the honor and so forth. Go ahead.
And she saying, and the saying pleased the king and the princes, and the king did according to the word of Memucan.
So these was the wise men speaking to the king, and it pleased the king. The wise men heard it and said, no, the king heard it and said, it sounds like a good idea. Let's roll with it. Go ahead.
For he sent letters unto all the king's provinces, into every province according to the writing thereof.
So he sent them into all his provinces, which he had. How much did they have? 127.
God.
So he sent it into all 127 of them, from India to Ethiopia and all what's in between and wherever else he ruled over. Go ahead.
And to every people after their language, that every man should bear rule in his own house.
It's that every man should what?
Bear rule in his own house.
And the king understood that a man should rule over his own house, that a man should bear rule over his own house. Like the king he went taking that disrespect from the queen. Go ahead.
And that it should be published according to the language of every people.
And they put it in every language, whatever people speaking at the time. Go ahead.
After these things, when the wrath of the king was appeased, he remembered Vashti and what she had done and what was decreed against her. Then said the king's servants that ministered unto him, let there be fair young virgins sought for the king.
So he remembered this, and then they said, let there be fair young virgins, meaning women of a marriageable age and so forth. Go ahead. That's what it means when it says virgins. Go ahead.
And let the king appoint officers over all the provinces of his kingdom, that they may gather together all the fair young virgins of
so this king wanted a beautiful woman, so he left it in charge with his princes over him. So they was meant to go through all their provinces and bring all the beautiful women, and then obviously he would choose. Go ahead.
The palace of the king's woman unto custody, Hagar, the king's chamberlain, keeper of the woman, let their things for purification be given them, and let the maiden which pleaseth the king be the queen instead of Vashti.
So now, because Vashti disobeyed the king and didn't come up, he said, oh, you know what? She ain't going to be queen. He ain't dealing with her. So then he went looking for another fair, beautiful woman to make the queen. Also, what you got to realize is this king here, he's a heathen, so obviously he would have a queen and whatnot, but in Israel, there's no queens and so forth. So it's just that this is a heathen custom to have a queen. It was never our custom to have queens, so there's no such thing as a queen in Israel. Go ahead.
And the thing pleased the king, and he did so. Now in Shushan, the palace, there was a certain Jew whose name was Mordecai.
So in Shushan, there was a certain Jew whose name was Mordecai, a Benjamite brother. Go ahead.
His name was Mordecai, the son of Jair, the son of Shamiel, the son of Kish.
So it's nice giving you the rundown of who he is and what tribe he's from. So it's from the tribe of Benjamin.
Who had been carried away from Jerusalem with the captivity which had been carried unto Jeconiah the king of Judah, whom Nebuchadnezzar the king of Babylon carried away.
So this is talking about the captivity. Go ahead.
And he brought Zakia.
So this is why Mordecai was in that land, because obviously they was carried away captive. Go ahead.
And he brought up Esther, his uncle's daughter.
And then Mordecai raised his uncle's daughter because Esther's parents died. It doesn't say how, but Esther's parents died. So Mordecai raised her up like she was his own daughter. Go ahead.
For she had neither father nor mother.
Because she had no father, no mother, which lets you know there was a time when obviously we would take care of our people that had no parents, would take care of them. Like the Bible says, take care of the widows and the fatherless and so forth. So that's what Mordecai was doing, taking care of the fatherless and so forth. Go ahead.
And the maid was fair and beautiful.
And so they brought her up, and Esther, they said she was fair and beautiful, meaning Esther was beautiful, she was good looking and so forth. Go ahead.
Mordecai, when her father and mother were dead, took her for his own daughter.
So when her parents passed away, he took her for his own daughter, meaning what? The same way you'd raise your own daughter is the same way he raised her, taught her, raised her up, taught her everything she knew and whatnot. Go ahead.
So it came to pass when the king's commandment and his decree was heard, and when many maidens were gathered together unto Shushan.
So now they gathered all the maidens, all the beautiful women from all the provinces and so forth, because the king wanted to raise somebody up as the queen. So they gathered all the beautiful women that they thought was fair and good looking. Go ahead.
To the custody of Haggai, that Esther was brought also to the king's house.
And so they had all the women there. They also brought Esther there. Go on.
To the custody of Haggai, keeper of the women, and the maiden pleased him, and she obtained kindness of him, and he speedily gave her things for purification.
And she pleased him. The things for purification is when they take that bath in the, what's it called? So yeah, I think the bathing, what is it? The bathing something for like what, 6 months or something? Yeah, the bathing some kind of perfume or fragrance for 6 months and so forth. Go ahead.
For such things as belonged to her, and 7 maidens, which were meet to be given to her out of the king's house. And he preferred her and her maids unto the best place of the house.
So she got the best place in the house of all the women that was there. Go ahead.
Esther had not showed her people nor kindred, for Mordecai had charged her that she should not show it.
So Esther, she didn't tell him who she was, her nationality and so forth. She didn't show her kindred, who her forefathers were. She didn't show it. Go ahead.
And Mordecai walked every day before the court of the woman's house.
So Mordecai charged there, don't tell them and so forth. And then every day he went to the court's to the house where the women was being kept, just to see how Esther was, keep an eye on her, see if she's all right and whatnot. Go ahead.
To know how Esther did.
So yeah, he done that to know how she was doing. So he still kept a close eye on her, see if she's all right, see what's going on. Go ahead.
And what should become of her. And when the maid's turn was come to go in the king Ahasuerus, after that she had been 12 months, according to the manner of woman. For so were the days of her purifications accomplished.
And then the purification was what, for 12 months? 12 months where you do all of that perfume, fragrance stuff and whatnot. That's how they used to do it back then. Used to take a bath in perfume and some strong frankincense and those kind of things. Go ahead.
6 months with oil and myrrh.
So 6 months with oil and myrrh. That's what they used to do back then.
And 6 months with sweet odors.
And then another 6 months with sweet odors and other things, which means she's going to be smelling beautiful and whatnot. Go ahead.
Thus came every maiden unto the king, whatsoever she desired was given her, to go with her out the house.
Go ahead. And
the woman unto the king's house. In the evening she went, and on the morrow she returned into the king's house of the women, to the custody of Shashka, the king's chamberlain, which kept the concubines. She came in unto the king no more, except the king delighted in her, and that she were called by name,
So this is how it went back then. If the king didn't call you in, you wasn't allowed to just go up in there. That was the death penalty. You can't just walk up in the king's castle and do as you please. Same like today. You can't just go up in Buckingham Palace. You can't just walk up in there and, you know, go to the queen's bedroom and so forth. Same like back then. You couldn't do it back then. You still can't do it now. Go ahead.
Now when the turn of Esther, the daughter of Abigail, the uncle of Mordecai, who had taken her for his daughter, was come in to go unto the king, she required nothing but what Haggai, the king's chamberlain, the keeper of the woman appointed, and Esther obtained favor in the sight of all of them that looked upon her. And
Esther, because she was so beautiful and whatnot, she obtained favor from all of them that looked upon her. So you could say, who's beautiful today? Beyonce. Nah, not Beyonce. Someone like Alicia Keys, for example. Well, that's my title anyway, but obviously she gained favor in sight of the king and whatnot, and everyone that looked upon her because she was beautiful and whatnot. Go ahead.
So Esther was taken unto the king into his royal.
So Esther went to the king. Go ahead.
In the 10th month, which is the month of Tebeth, in the 7th year of his reign, and the king loved Esther above all the women. So the king, even he loved Esther because she was so fair to look upon and so beautiful. Go ahead. And she obtained grace and favor in his sight. She got grace and favor, meaning she got mercy and certain privileges. She could ask for this and ask for that, and obviously would give it to her because obviously he loved her because of how beautiful she was. Go ahead. Then all the virgins, so that he set the royal crown upon her head. And then he put the crown upon her head. Out of all the women that was brought up, all the other maidens that was brought up, he set the crown upon Esther's head. Go ahead. And made her queen instead of Vashti. And then he made her the queen instead of Vashti. Vashti is the one that didn't come up. Go ahead. Then the king made a great feast unto all his princes and servants, even Esther's feast. And then he made another great feast to all his servants throughout the provinces and so forth. Go ahead. And he made a release to the provinces and gave gifts according to the state of the king. And when the virgins were gathered together the second time, then Mordecai sat in the king's gate. Esther had not yet showed her kindred nor her people. So Mordecai sat in the king's gate. The king's gate is what, like the gap between the door and the fence and so forth. That's where he sat because you're not allowed to go no further than that. So that's where he sat because he couldn't go no further. Go ahead. As Mordecai had charged her. So Mordecai, so she obeyed Mordecai. He was like a father to her. He charged her, don't show them your kindred, because obviously back then nobody, same like today, no one likes us till this day. So at this time, he told her, don't show who you are, your kindred, and so forth. Go ahead. But Esther did the commandment of Mordecai, like as she was brought up with him. And because he raised her, she obeyed everywhere they said. In those days, while Mordecai sat in the king's gate, two of the king's chamberlains, Bigthan and Teresh, of those who kept the door, were rough and sought to lay hands on Ahasuerus. So, because Mordecai always sat by the king's gate, and these two men was keepers of the gates, meaning these is like what the queen's guards today. These like the queen's guards that stand by the gate, so nobody can't come in. These men was keepers of the gate. So, because Mordecai used to sit outside the gate, he heard them conversating about how they want to kill the king, how they want to lay hands on him. And the thing was known to Mordecai, who told it to Esther the queen. So, because Esther was in there with the king, and Mordecai was like Esther's father, he told her what the two gatekeepers was planning, how they was mad with the king and how they wanted to kill him. Same like the what is it? The bonfire plot. Same same like the conspiracy. Mordecai went and told Esther for Esther to tell the king. Go ahead. And Esther certified the king thereof in Mordecai's name. And when inquisition was made, and Esther told the king, certified it to the king in Mordecai's name. Go ahead. And when inquisition was made of the matter, it was found out. Therefore, they were both hanged on a tree. And so they told the king. The king done some investigating. He's found out, and both of these gatekeepers was hanged on a tree. Go ahead. And it was written in the book of the Chronicles before the king. After these things, did King Ahasuerus promote? And it was written in the book. When you go up a verse, it says she signified it to the king in Mordecai's name, right? So that was written in the book in Mordecai's name, that Mordecai found out about the plot and then wanted to kill the king.
Go ahead. Later on, we're going to get to that part, but go ahead.
After these things, did King Ahasuerus promote Haman?
So then he promoted another man, gave him a next higher position, which was like probably one underneath him. Go ahead.
The son of Hamadatha, the Agagite, and advanced him and set his seat above all the princes that were with him.
So he advanced him. This man was raised up above all the other princes and everybody who was over the other provinces. So you could say Haman was what? Second in command. Go ahead.
And all the king's servants that were in the king's gate bowed and reverenced Haman.
So because Haman was second in charge, you could say, what's his name? Ahasuerus or whatever.
Haman?
No, the first. The king. Yeah, Ahasuerus. He's the king. And you could say Haman's the prince who's directly underneath him. So the same respect would give the king was also given Haman. Go ahead.
For the king had commanded concerning him, but Mordecai bowed not.
So all these other men bowed before him. They bowed before Haman. Mordecai did not bow before him. Go ahead.
Nor did he reverence him.
Nor did he reverence him. Same like we're supposed to do today. We ain't supposed to bow before the queen. We ain't supposed to reverence the queen. We ain't supposed to get an award from, what is it, MBE? We ain't supposed to go get an MBE from the queen and so forth. Mordecai was that man who wasn't doing none of that. We ain't supposed to be doing none of that in this day and age. Go ahead.
Verse 3. Then the king's servants were in the king's gate and said unto Mordecai, why transgressest thou the king's commandment?
And then they said to Mordecai, why are you transgressing the king's commandment? The king's commandment is you bow to Haman, man. Haman gets what he wants. Haman's second in command. Go ahead.
Now it came to pass, when they spoke daily unto him, he hearkened not unto them.
They spoke daily on him. Hearken means listen. He didn't listen to them. Go ahead.
Now they told Haman to see whether Mordecai matters would stand, for he had told them that he was a Jew.
So Mordecai told them who he was. Mordecai told them, I'm a Jew. Mordecai knew that he was the real royalty and not Haman and so forth. Go on.
And when Haman saw that Mordecai bowed not, nor did reverence him, then was Haman full of wrath.
And because Mordecai didn't bow to him and worship him, he was full of wrath. Like today, when you don't show white people respect today, they're mad at you. When you don't give them way in the traffic, they believe that you have to give them way and they think they can just pull out and you have to give them way. When you don't reverence them and give them none of that, they'd be mad with you saying like back then. Go ahead.
Verse 6. And he taught scorn to lay hands on Mordecai.
And then Haman was so mad. Just because he didn't bow before him and worship him, he fought to lay hands on him. He wanted him dead. Just over that. Go ahead.
For they had showed him the people of Mordecai. Wherefore Haman sought to destroy all the Jews.
So because Mordecai was a Jew that didn't bow to Haman, he said he wants to destroy all the Jews. Kind of like Liam Neeson the other day. What did he say the other day? Liam Neeson.
The Kush.
Yeah. What did he say again?
He wouldn't any black man.
Yeah, that because she was raped.
Yeah.
Black man. Black bastards was the same.
Yeah. So because one black man didn't bow before him, he wanted to go murder, kill every single black person over it. Same like Liam Neeson. One black man, whether it's true or not, did something wrong. He wanted to kill any black man for it. So times ain't really changed from then till now. It's still the same. They want to charge all of us for what one does. Go ahead.
Haman sought to destroy all the Jews.
He sought to what?
Destroy all the Jews.
So just because Mordecai didn't bow to him, he sought to destroy our whole nation. He wanted us wiped off the face of the earth. Same like Liam Neeson wanted us wiped off the face of the earth. Go ahead.
That were throughout the whole kingdom of Ahasuerus, even the people of Mordecai.
So all of us that was throughout all the provinces, because Haman was second in command, he had that power to get us all wiped out. He had that power. Go ahead.
Verse 7. In the first month, that is the month of Nisan, in the 12th year of King Ahasuerus, they cast pur, that is a lot, before Haman from day to day, and from month to month, to the 12th month, even to the month Adar. And Haman said unto the king Ahasuerus, there is a certain people scattered abroad.
And Haman said, there is a certain people scattered abroad. Now we know certain people scattered abroad. Back then we were scattered abroad throughout all them provinces. Today we scattered abroad. This is where you find us in Brazil, Mexico, Jamaica, Trinidad. Where else are we? We're everywhere. So we them same people scattered abroad. Go ahead.
Dispersed among the people.
This what?
Dispersed among the people.
So back then we was dispersed amongst the people. Today we dispersed amongst the people. Go ahead.
Of all the provinces in thy kingdom, And their laws are diverse from all people.
And they said their laws are diverse from all people, meaning different. Now, our laws is different from everybody else's laws. We ain't supposed to worship no idols. Like, you wouldn't think it the way we worship idols today, though. But our laws is meant to be diverse. You're meant to look at us and be like, these people are different to everybody else. The way we dress, the way we treat one another, the way we worship our God. We're meant to be different to everyone, which should let people should look at us and know these is diverse to everyone else. Kind of like the UPK, people can look at us and tell we're different to everybody else. People look at us and be like, what is it that you like deal with? Because they see that we're different. Like back then, our laws was diverse to everyone else's. Nowadays, most of us just blend in with everyone else, so obviously you can't tell. Go ahead.
Neither keep they the king's law.
Neither what?
Keep they the king's laws.
So it said neither keep they the king's laws. Same like today, we ain't supposed to be keeping this white man's laws with LGBT and accepting it and whatnot. The Bible says it's wrong. It's wrong. We ain't supposed to be like, well, the Queen's law says, you know, it's right, and the Catholic priests do this and they say it's right, and so forth. We ain't supposed to just be saying, yeah, it's right now. We ain't supposed to do that. We're supposed to keep our laws. Same like Mordecai kept his laws back then. Go ahead.
Therefore, it is not for the king's profit to suffer them. If it please the king.
It's not for the king's profit to suffer them, which means to allow them to do as they please and keep their laws and whatnot. Go ahead.
If it please the king, let it be written that they may be destroyed.
If it what?
If it please the king, let it be written.
So he said, if it please the king. So he's going to the king saying, you know what? We need to destroy these people. So he's speaking to the king saying, if it please you, let it be written that they be destroyed. The reason they needed it in writing is so they could send the letters to every province. Then all the princes over them, that region, will go and destroy all the Jews, which was scattered abroad among them. So he needed it in writing from the king, so it could have the king's approval on it. So he wanted the king's approval to carry out what he wanted done. Go ahead.
And I will pay 10,000 talents of silver.
And he was willing to pay, man. He goes, listen, he said to the king, I'll pay you, man. I'll pay you 10,000 talents of silver. He said, this 10,000 talents of silver end up in the king's treasury, meaning he'll pay him to pull it in writing and so forth. Go ahead.
To the hands of those that have charge of the business, to bring it under the king's treasuries.
Go ahead.
And the king took his ring from his hand and gave it to Haman, the son of Hamada, the Agagite, the Jews' enemy. And the king sealed it with his ring. Today, that's like a stamp. It's like a stamp. So, yeah, they put their stamp on it to say, all right, it's authorized and whatnot. Go ahead. And the king said unto Haman, the silver is given to thee, the people also to do with them, as it seemed good to thee. Then were the king's scribes called on the 30th day of the first month. There was written according to all that. Now, scribes is people who write things down. So the king had scribes that would write it up, and he would just seal it and authorize it and be like, yeah, it's correct. Go ahead. And to the governors that were over every province. And then the scribes wrote it so it could get sent to all the governors that was over all the provinces. So say, for instance, if that was today, the people who's over England, they would receive a letter saying your MPs and so forth. David, what's his name? David, what's his name? Yeah, no, not him. Give me the white one. Go to Boris Johnson.
Yeah, we'll go to Boris Johnson. He's over what? Liverpool. Yeah, he's over Liverpool. We'll go to Boris Johnson. All the Israelites in Liverpool, obviously they'll go kill them. Then the MP over Birmingham, who's it? Sadiq Khan? No, he's over London. Sadiq's over. Who's over Birmingham? So the one over Birmingham will kill all us here. The one over London, Sadiq Khan, will get all of them killed. So they would all receive the letters, then the men underneath them would go and carry out what was written in the letter. So it would have had the king's approval on it to carry it out. Go ahead. According to the writing thereof. According to the writing thereof. So they'd read the letter and carry it out. Go ahead. To every people after their language, in the name of the king. And they had it written in every language, in the name of the king. So if a letter's coming from the king, same like you receive a letter from the queen, what is it, Her Majesty something. You receive a letter from the queen, you know, you better pay that fine, or H&P, you know, you're going to prison or whatnot, because it's got the queen's stamp on there. This letter right here had the king's stamp on there at the time. Go ahead. Was it written and sealed with the king's ring? And it was written and sealed with the king's ring, meaning it had his signature on it. It was signed by the king, meaning it's an authorized letter. Go ahead. And the letters were sent by post unto all the king's provinces. And back then, they posted all the letters. Nowadays, they'll just put it on what? Facebook. Nowadays, they'll put it on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Back then, they didn't have no Instagram or no Twitter. They just sent it by post.
To destroy, to kill, and to cause.
To what?
To destroy, to kill.
So not just to kill. They wanted to destroy, man. They wanted to destroy everything we had. They wanted to kill all of us. Go ahead.
And cause to perish all the Jews.
and cause to what?
To all the Jews.
So they wanted to kill all the Jews, man. They wanted to destroy us, to kill us. No, they wanted us to perish from off the face of the earth. Go ahead.
Both young and old.
Both young and old. So you see all our little kids. Haman wanted them dead too. He got the approval from the king. He wanted all of them dead too, from old and young. Go ahead.
Children and women.
Children and women. He wanted all of us dead. Not just Mordecai, all of us. Go ahead.
In one day, even upon the 13th day.
He wanted all of us dead in one day. So they wanted all of us dead. And then Christianity teaches that we must forgive everyone. So what should we forgive Haman, who wanted our whole nation wiped off the face of the earth? That's what I'm saying, man. Christianity is one hell of a drug. They teach that people must do us harm and we must forgive them. This man wanted our babies killed, our women killed, and we just meant to forgive him and say, you know what, it's all right. That's what church teaches here. Go ahead.
On the 12th month, which is the month Adar, to take the spoil of them for prey.
This man even set a date that he wanted it done. He set a date on the day that he wanted all of us wiped out and dead and our kids destroyed. How can we forgive? How can we forgive him, man, when he wanted to kill our kid? Read who he wanted to kill again.
Cause to perish all Jews, both young and old.
So he wanted to kill our elderly, our young, go ahead.
Children and women.
Our women and children, our innocent children that are just, you know, playing with their toys, minding their own business. He wanted them dead too, man. Our old who are just elderly, minding their business. He wanted them dead too. That have done no harm to him. He wanted them dead. Go ahead. And this is why Purim is such a beautiful thing. Go ahead.
In one day, even upon the 13th day of the 12th month, which is the month Adar, to take the spoil of them for prey.
And they wanted to take us for prey. And go ahead.
The copy of the writing for commandment to be given in every province.
And he couldn't wait to get this done, man. He wanted the writing to be sent to every city, to every province. He just was sick of seeing us. He just wanted all of us wiped out. He was given this position, and as soon as he got in that position, what did he want? All the Jews dead. Same like you give a police officer a badge. What's the first thing he does? Goes and shoots a black man. Goes and sets us up, shoots us, plants guns on us. Same thing that Haman wanted. Nothing ain't changed. Go ahead.
Was published unto all people that they should be ready against that day.
They had it published unto all people that they would be ready on that day. What was that day? The 15th or something?
God, it was the 13th day of 12th month.
So the 13th, he wanted everyone ready on the 30th day of the 12th month. So he got that king's letter. He got it published. He got it published in every language. Had the king's signature on there. They got it delivered by post. Go ahead.
The post went out, being hastened by the king's commandment.
The what?
Being hastened by the king's commandment.
So that post went out quick. That post, hasten means fast. Haste means quick and fast. They had that letter go out so fast because they were so sick of seeing us, man. They were so sick of us that letter went out in haste. Haman wanted us dead that quick that he got that letter out ASAP. Go ahead.
And the decree was given in Shushan, in the palace, and the
decree was given in Shushan in the palace. Go ahead.
And the king and Haman sat down to drink, but the city Shushan was perplexed. Verse chapter 4.
Perplexed means what? Confused.
God.
Yeah, the city was confused because obviously they didn't understand it. But the king and Haman was sitting down drinking. Go ahead.
When Mordecai perceived all that was done, Mordecai rent his clothes.
And when Mordecai heard about this letter, back then when people was in mourning, they'd rip their clothes and put ashes on their head and so forth. Nowadays, what do you do now when you're mourning? You just hit the bottle. That you do now. That you do now. Nowadays, you just hit the bottle when you're mourning. You sit down, TV, music on in the background with alcohol and whatnot. Back then, they'd rip their garment in two, put ashes on their head and so forth. Go ahead.
And put on sackcloth with
and
ashes.
Yeah, he put on sackcloth, which is people see you in sackcloth and they can tell you're mourning, tell you're going through something. Go ahead.
And went out into the midst of the city and cried with a loud and bitter cry.
So he went out weeping because he read the letter that all the Jews is going to be wiped out. Now, the king's in charge of everything. Like now, we ain't got no power. In the land that we ain't got no power. If Elizabeth sent out a letter, I want all these people wiped out by this date, there's not really much we could do. We ain't got no weapons and so forth. We ain't got no power. So there's nothing we could do. All we could do is what Mordecai did. Mordecai just wept and mourned and ripped his garment in two. Go ahead.
And came even before the king's gate.
And what?
And came even before the king's
And then
gate.
he went to the king's gate again. Go ahead.
For none might enter into the king's gate clothed with sackcloth. For every province, whosoever the king's commandment and his decree came, that there was great mourning among the Jews.
So then that letter got around to the rest of us. We all seen that letter, and we knew. All right, then, like we heard the word that there's a decree gone out to kill all the Jews, kill all the old, kill all the young, and whatnot. So the decree went out. Go ahead.
And fasting and weeping and wailing.
And what?
Weeping and wailing.
And there's weeping and wailing. Same like you would if you knew you was going to die on a certain day and there was nothing you could do about it. We was mourning, weeping and wailing. Go ahead.
And many lay in sackcloth and ashes.
And then many of us put on sackcloth and ashes today. Many of us would just be depressed down in the dumps drinking. That's what we'd be doing today if this decree went out. Go ahead.
So Esther's maids and her chamberlains came and told it her. Then the queen exceedingly grieved.
So they went and told it to Esther. Remember, Esther had favor with the king. So they came and said to Esther, this is what's going to happen. So Esther was grieved because at this time they didn't know she was a Jew at the time. They didn't know she was a Jew at the time because Mordecai told her keep it quiet. So they've told her. So she's grieved because obviously it's her people and she cared about her people. Go ahead.
And she sent raiment to clothe Mordecai.
And she heard about Mordecai and sackcloth. She sent raiment to clothe him. Go ahead.
And took away sackcloth from him, but he received it not. Then called Esther Attack, one of the king's chamberlains, who he had appointed to.
So because Esther was queen at the time, she could, she had like servants under her, one of the king's chamberlains. She sent him to go and get Mordecai. Go ahead.
Who he had appointed to attend upon her, and gave him a commandment to Mordecai to know what it was and why it was. And Attack went forth to Mordecai into the street of the city.
So this chamberlain, who she gave the order to, went to Mordecai. Go ahead.
Which was before the king's gate. And Mordecai told him all that had happened unto him, and the sum of the money that Haman had promised to pay the king's treasuries.
So Mordecai told him everything and how much Haman was willing to pay to get all the Jews killed and about the whole letter and everything. Go ahead.
For the Jews to destroy them. Also, he gave him a copy of the writing of the decree.
And then he gave him a copy of it. So Mordecai also had one of these letters. Go ahead.
That was in Shushan to destroy them, to show unto Esther, and to declare unto her, and to charge her that she should go into the king.
So Esther told her, look, no, Mordecai told Esther that she should, this is what she should do. He told the chamberlain, this is what she should do. Go ahead.
To make supplication unto him, to make a request before him.
So Mordecai, who raised up Esther, told her, go to the king and make supplication before him. So Mordecai just wanted his people to live. He didn't want his people to die. Go ahead.
For her people. And Attack came and told Esther the words of Mordecai. Again Esther spake unto Attack and gave him commandment unto Mordecai. And all the king's servants and the people of the king's provinces do know that whosoever man or woman shall come unto the king into the inner court, who is not called, there is one law to put him to death.
So Esther saying, I can't just go to the king like that unless I've been called. Because back then, you can't just go to the inner court without being called. It was punishable by death. So Esther saying, now Mordecai sent Esther to go to the king to make supplication for the Jews that he would change the decree, that he wouldn't, that he would reverse the letter. That's what Mordecai wanted. But Esther saying, I can't just walk up in the king's court without being called. It's punishable by death. So at this stage, she's thinking about herself, thinking, what if I walk in there and I get put to death? Go ahead.
Except such to whom the king should hold.
And then she goes, if the king not call you, I can't go. Go ahead.
Hold out the golden sepulchre that he may live.
So he had a golden scepter, which is like a stick. So the king would put out the stick like that, and then obviously that way he would call you in. Go ahead. If you don't raise that scepter, obviously you couldn't go in. A scepter is like a stick. Go ahead.
But I have not been called to come in unto the king these 30 days.
So Esther said, I ain't been called to go in unto the king for the last 30 days, which is a month. She said, I ain't been called for a whole month. Go ahead.
And they told Mordecai Esther's words. Then Mordecai.
And then so the chamberlain went back. What's his name? Hatak or something like that. Hatak. He went back to Mordecai to tell Mordecai what Esther said. Go ahead.
Then Mordecai commanded to answer Esther, think not with thyself that thou shalt escape the king's house.
Do what?
Think not with thyself that thou shalt escape in the king's house.
So this is Mordecai saying, tell her, think not that you're gonna stay alive because you're queen. Basically, he's saying, think not that you're gonna be the only one to escape. Basically, what he's saying is, just because you're all the way up there and we're down here, don't think you're gonna escape. Same like so many celebrities, they think they're so better than us. They think that they're gonna escape these cases, and the problems that apply to us don't apply to them. Same way we get shut down in the street. There's an officer. Do you see the thing about 50 Cent, the officer?
No.
Yeah, the officer was talking about how when you see 50 Cent shoot him on sight and so forth. Now, before this, 50 Cent thought, he's a celebrity. He don't have the same problems that we do. That's what basically Mordecai is saying to Esther. Go ahead.
More than all the Jews, for if thou altogether holdest thy peace at this time, then shall the enlargement and deliverance arise to the Jews from another place. So
he was saying, you can't hold your mouth at this time. Go ahead.
But thou and thy father's house shall be destroyed.
And he goes, if you hold your mouth and you don't go and make supplication, if you don't try, us as a nation, we're going to be destroyed. There's going to be no Jews left. We're going to be wiped off the face of the earth. Go ahead.
And who knoweth whither thou art come to the kingdom for such a time as this?
And Mordecai said, and how do you know? You haven't been raised to be queen for a time like this to save you people. So Mordecai saying, how do you know you ain't been put in that position to save you people from what they're about to go through now? Because some people get put in a certain position to help their people, but most people don't help their people with that position that they've been put in. Go ahead.
Then Esther bade them, return Mordecai his answer, go gather together all the Jews that are present in Shushan, and fast for me, and neither drink 3 days.
So she said, all right, then I'll do it, but gather all the Jews and use like fast and pray for me and so forth. Go ahead.
Night or day, I also and my maidens will fast likewise.
So her and her maidens that was under a fasted too. Go ahead.
And so will I go in unto the king, which is not according to the law.
And she said, I'm going to go to the king because according to the law, if you go to the king without being called, it's punishable by death. So that's why she said she'll go to the king, which is not according to the law. Go ahead.
And if I perish, I perish.
And if what?
If I perish, I perish.
She goes, if I perish, I perish, meaning I'm going to go do it. But if I die, I'm going to go do it. If I die, at least I died trying to save my people. Go ahead.
So Mordecai went his way.
And that's what Esther said. Whereas you celebrities today, they ain't willing to perish for black people. I mean, Mayweather ain't willing to perish for... Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, Mayweather ain't looking to put down a Gucci suit for 2 minutes.
Exactly. Mayweather was the first. Mayweather was the only one in the Gucci store that day. Came out with about 10 bags. Do you see all the bags he came out with? Mayweather went in the Gucci store, brought all his items. Mayweather ain't willing to perish for his people. Mayweather ain't willing to boycott certain brands for his people. He don't care, man. Mayweather don't care. Meanwhile, we supported him, man. We've supported Mayweather for his whole career. Remember us like when he fought McGregor. We went and watched it live, man. We paid for it live, supporting Mayweather. And Mayweather just don't care about his people, man. Just put McGregor. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So Mordecai went his way.
And the Mordecai went his own way. And what? Go ahead.
And did according to all that Esther had commanded him.
So Mordecai went his own way and did according to what she commanded him. Fast for 3 days, night and day, and pray and whatnot. Go ahead.
Chapter 5. Now it came to pass on the 3rd day, Esther put on her royal apparel. And
so the 3rd day, Esther put on her royal apparel. So obviously Esther's getting ready. She's putting on some nice clothes. She's going to go to the king because the king knows she's beautiful. So her being beautiful, it might give her a better chance of, the king raising the scepter and not punishing her for coming into the court without permission. Go ahead.
I stood in the inner court of the king's house.
And then she went in the inner court when usually you're not allowed to go in there. Go ahead.
Over against the king's house. And the king sat upon the royal throne.
And the king was sitting on his throne. what's his name? I keep forgetting his name. Ahasuerus. Go ahead.
Over against the gate of the house. And it was so, when the king saw Esther the queen standing in the court, that she obtained favor in his sight.
And then she's in this court. She don't know if she's going to live or die because you're not supposed to go in there without permission. So it says when the king saw her in her royal apparel and whatnot, she gained favor in his sight. Go ahead.
And the king held out to Esther the golden scepter.
And like we were saying, if the king don't hold out that golden scepter, you're going to die because you shouldn't be in there. He held out that scepter, so from there she knew, all right, then I'm not gonna die. Go ahead.
that was in his hand. So Esther drew near and touched the top of the scepter. Then the king said unto her, what will thou, Queen Esther?
And then the king asked her, all right, then what would you like? Like, why are you here? What is it you after? Go ahead.
And what is thy request? It shall be given thee to half of the kingdom.
He goes, what's your request? I'll give you even half of the kingdom. He was willing to give her half of the kingdom, man. Half of what he reigned over. Go ahead.
And Esther answered, if it seem good unto thee, let the king and Haman come this day unto the banquet that I have prepared for you.
So Esther said, you know what? If it seemed good to you, I want to prepare a banquet for you and Haman. So Haman, he was, directly under the king. He's been raised up over everybody else. So she was going to set up a banquet for the two of them. Go ahead.
Then the king said, cause Haman to make haste, that he may do as Esther have said. So the king and Haman came to the banquet.
So she set up a banquet, which is like what, a ball, a party, whatever you want to call it. Go ahead.
And the king said unto Esther at the banquet of wine, what is thy petition? And it shall be granted thee. And what is thy request?
So the king said, what would you like? What's your petition? What's your request? Go ahead.
Even to the half of the kingdom.
So she had so much favor in this king's sight. He was willing to give her half of the kingdom. He was willing to give her half of the kingdom. Go ahead.
And then answered Esther and said, my petition and my request is.
So Esther was a sister that was down for her people, man. Like Beyonce, she's got the voice. She's got, how much followers has she got on Instagram? Like 123 million. Beyonce could pass this message on to 123 million people, but obviously she's not going to do it. But if Esther had Instagram, should have did it, man. But celebrities like Beyonce, who else is high up there with all these followers? Oprah's got a talk show. Wendy Williams, they don't want to help us when they've got the voice, man. They've got the power to get this out there, but they ain't going to do it. Go ahead.
If I have found favor in the sight of the king, and if it please the king to grant my petition and to perform my request, let the king and Haman come to my banquet that I shall prepare for them, and I will do tomorrow as the king hath said. Then Haman, for that day joyful.
So Haman now, he's been invited to a banquet. He knew how beautiful Esther was. So he's probably thinking all sorts of things. Oh, she's invited me. He's probably thinking, yeah, he's high up there and she's inviting him because she likes him and whatnot. Because obviously at this time, he didn't know who she was. Go ahead.
And with glad heart. But when Haman saw Mordecai in the king's gate, he stood not up.
So Haman at this time was happy. He's been invited to a banquet by Esther just for him and the king. He's feeling special. He's feeling like he's going places. And then he's seen Mordecai, a black man that refuses to bow to him. Haman was so high up there, he's thinking, who does this man think he is that is not going to worship me? So he was all joyful, he was happy. Then as he's leaving, he sees Mordecai out there. Go ahead.
He was full of indignation against Mordecai.
Then he seen him. He was angry, man. He couldn't wait for the 30th day to come, so he could just get him and the rest of his people killed. So that joy, that happiness turned to sadness when he seen a black man that didn't bow down to him. Go ahead.
Nevertheless, Haman refrained himself, and when he came home,
and he did what?
Refrained himself.
Haman refrained himself, man. Go ahead.
And when he came home, he sent and called for his friends and Zeresh his wife, and Haman told them of the glory of his riches and the multitude of his children.
And then Haman told them about how rich he is, how he's got this much treasure, how he's the prince, how he's the ruler of this place, how he's over this province and that province. Go ahead.
And all things wherein the king had promoted him, and how he had advanced him above the princes and servants of the king. And
then he told them about his high position, called his friends around, boasting. Yeah, you see, such and such, I'm over him. I can tell him what to do. I'm in charge of this. I'm in charge of that. Go ahead.
Haman said, moreover, yea, Esther the queen did let no man come in the king unto the banquet that she had prepared but myself.
So now he's getting gassed that he's telling them Esther's beautiful. No one else has been invited to this banquet but me and the king. Only me and the king have been invited to this banquet. Go ahead. Imagine if you've been invited somewhere and no other man's been invited, just you and the king. You're going to be happy about it and feel like you're something special. That's how Haman was feeling right now. Go ahead.
And tomorrow I am invited also with the king. Yet all this availeth me nothing, so long as I see Mordecai.
And he said, all this is good. All this is nice, but it don't mean nothing, man. As long as I see Mordecai, as long as I see this black man that's broke, that's should be a good slave, and he's refusing to obey me. He's refusing to be a good slave, and he's refusing to be a Christian and so forth. Go ahead.
The Jew sitting in the king's gate, then said Zeresh his wife, and all his friends unto him, let a gallows be made 50 cubits high, and tomorrow speak unto the king that Mordecai may be hanged thereon.
He said, let a gallows be made 50 cubits high. Obviously, a cubit, depending on the person, it varies, because a cubit is from like your elbow to here. So however long your arm is, however long Haman's arm is, his 50 cubits would be different to somebody else's 50 cubits. Go ahead.
Then go in merrily with the king unto the banquet.
So she said, prepare a gallows. That's like where you hang someone from. Go ahead.
And the king, and the thing pleased Haman, and he caused the gallows to be made.
And the thing pleased Haman, so his wife said, make a gallows so you can just hang him. So had it made, it pleased Haman to make it so they could hang him. Go ahead.
Verse 6, chapter 6. On that night could not the king sleep, and he commanded to bring the book of the records of the chronicles. So
the king couldn't sleep, man. It sounds like that the Lord made him not be able to sleep, made him want to go through that book of the Chronicles, what we read earlier, where we said it was written in there that Mordecai is the one that foiled the plot of the two gatekeepers that wanted to kill the king. Go ahead.
And they read before the king, and it was found written that Mordecai.
So the king couldn't sleep for some reason. For some reason, this night he just couldn't sleep. So out of nowhere, he called for the book to be brought to him. Go ahead.
And it was found written that Mordecai had told Bigthana and Teresh, who the king's chamberlains, the keepers of the door, who sought to.
So because the king couldn't sleep, he decided he wanted to read that book. And in the book, it lets him know that Mordecai is the one that stopped him from being killed himself. That Mordecai is the one that stopped the two gatekeepers from killing him.
And the king said, what honor and dignity have been done to Mordecai for this?
He said what?
What dignity and honor have been done to Mordecai for this?
So the king read it and realized, all right then, this very same man that saved his life, what honor and dignity has he received for it? What reward has he received? What gift has he received? Go ahead.
Then said the king's servant that ministered unto him, there is nothing done for him.
He said there's nothing done for him. So he received nothing for doing that. Go ahead.
And the king said, who is in the court? Now Haman was come into the outward court of the king's house to speak unto the king, about hanging Mordecai on the gallows. So now, at this time, the king's read in the book of the Chronicles that Mordecai is the one that saved his life. And straight after, Haman's come to the palace to tell the king about the gallows that is made that he wants to hang Mordecai from. Go ahead. And the king's servant said unto him, behold, Haman standeth in the court. And he said, let him come in. And Haman came in, and the king said unto him, what shall be done to the man whom the king delighteth to honor? He said what? What shall be done to the man who the king delighteth to honor? So the king saying to Haman, what should be done to the man who the king delighteth to honor? Meaning, what should be done to them? What should be done to a man who the king's pleased with? And then now Haman thinking he's talking about him because he was full of himself, prideful. He's thinking the king's delightful with him. So he's going to say, yeah, all the good stuff, thinking he's talking about him. Go ahead. Now Haman thought in his heart, to whom would the king delight to honor more than myself? So Haman thought in his heart, who's the king talking about? He must be talking about me. He must be delighting in me. So Haman's going to say, yeah, he wants all of this and that, thinking it's about him. He's trying to play to the king that is humble with it, thinking it's about him. Go ahead. And Haman answered the king, for the man whom the king delighteth to honor, let royal apparel be brought, which the king useth to wear. So he said, the man he delighteth in, let royal apparel be brought, which is, you know what king's clothes are like? They're expensive and they have gold and they have this and they have that. They have expensive garments. So Haman was saying, Haman wanted one of those. Go ahead. And the horse that the king rideth upon. And Haman said, yeah, and the horse that the king rides upon, because you know the king's going to have the best horse. It's like today, the royals got the best cars. Well, they can have the best cars if they want. Go ahead. And the crown royal, which is set upon his head. And you want what, the crown as well? And then Haman was trying to be slick with it, saying, yeah, and a man that you delight in, you should give him your garment, a royal garment. Give him the horse that the king rides upon. Give him the crown that the king wears.
Sounds like Haman wanted to take over, man. Haman wanted all of it. Go ahead.
And let this apparel and the horse be delivered to his hand.
And he said, and let this apparel and the horse be delivered to his hand, meaning give it to the man that you delighteth in. Because Haman's thinking who the king delights in is him, but it's not him. Go ahead.
Of one of the king's most noble princes, that they may array the man aboard the king delighteth to honor, and bring him.
And he said, one of the king's most noble princes, one of the king's top men, let them array the man that you want to honor. Go ahead.
On horseback through the street of the city.
And he said, bring him on horseback through the street of the city. Why? So he could be seen. He wanted to be seen on with the king's garment on, the king's crown, on the king's horse. He wanted to be seen in all of that. So he's going through the street so everyone could see him. Like today, when people go through the street, they're riding a limousine, so everyone can see them. People go to prom in a limousine so everyone can see them, and so forth. Haman wanted to be seen like that. He wanted to ride on the king's horse, the king's crown, the apparel, so he could be seen by everyone, so everyone could look at him and be like, this is the man. Go ahead.
Thus shall it be done to the man who the king delighteth to honor.
And then Haman's making that like he doesn't know. Haman thinks it's about him, but Haman's making that like he don't know that he thinks it's about him. He's just making that like this man deserves whatever. Go ahead.
Then the king said to Haman, make haste and take the apparel and the horse, as thou hast said, and do even so to Mordecai the Jew.
And do even what?
Do even so to Mordecai the Jew.
And do what?
Do even so to Mordecai the Jew.
So all this time, Haman thought he was going to get all this nice stuff that he requested. And then the king said, do this to Mordecai. Imagine this, your enemy, man. The man you hate so much that sits outside the king's gate in sackcloth, sits outside grieving with ripped garments. A man that's considered nothing, that you want dead, that you can't stand. Imagine you come to the king and you think the king's going to honor you with all this. And he says, go and give all this to your enemy, man. Haman's heart must have sunk right there. Go ahead.
That sit up in the king's gate, let nothing of all that thou hast spoken, let nothing fail of all that thou hast spoken.
Let what?
Nothing fail of all that thou hast spoken.
So everything Haman said about let this man ride through the streets on the horse, let this man get a nice royal garment, let this man rock a crown, said let none of this fail. So Haman said all this because that's what he wanted. And then to see that his enemy is going to get it, Mordecai, who he wanted dead, his face must have dropped, man. I mean, Mordecai is the last person he thought was going to get that treatment. Go ahead.
Then took Haman the apparel and the horse and arrayed Mordecai and brought him on horseback.
And listen, they arrayed Mordecai, man. This is a black man who just sits outside in sackcloth, bearing in mind, sits outside in sackcloth. He's not even allowed inside the king's gate. He's a man that's been in captivity, that was carried away captive under Nebuchadnezzar. He's that man that's regarded as nothing. Basically, to Haman, Mordecai is just what? Any nigga that you see, man. Mordecai is just any nigga that you see in town begging for change and whatnot. Mordecai is just that guy to him. Go ahead.
So horseback to the street of the city and proclaim before him, thus shall it be done, the man who the king delights to honor. And Mordecai came again to the king's gate, but Haman hasted to his house.
And Haman did what?
Hasted to his house morning.
So Haman ran through the street screaming and crying, man. He ran home, man. He ran home from the castle all the way home. He ran home in haste, mourning and crying. Go ahead.
And having his head covered.
And he covered his head, man. Haman must have been depressed that day. Haman must have thought, is this a joke? Go ahead.
And Haman told Zeresh, his wife, and all his friends, the things that had befallen.
And then Haman told his wife, he must have told his wife, like, I thought I was the man that they delighted in. I thought I was the man that was going to ride through the city on a horseback. I was going to get the crown. I was going to get the royal garment. He probably told them the full story. Then he told them, all this is given to Mordecai. Go ahead.
Then said his wise men and Zeresh, his wife, unto him, if Mordecai be of the seed of the Jews, before whom thou hast begun to fall, then thou shalt not prevail against him.
Thou shalt what?
Not prevail against him.
So he goes, if Mordecai is a Jew, this is his wise men saying it. So these wise men know something that Haman don't. These wise men are saying, if Mordecai is a Jew, you can't prevail against him, man. Go ahead. Like if we decided we wanted to serve God, nobody could prevail against us. If we decided we wanted to serve God right now, we were out of captivity in no time, man. None of these nations would be able to prevail against us. Your boss wouldn't be able to fire you and tell you you're working for him and whatnot. The tables would just turn straight away. The reason they can prevail against us is because obviously we're not serving God. Go ahead.
or shall surely fall before him.
Shall what?
Surely fall before him.
And if we serve God, all our enemies will fall before us. If we was to serve God, we could be like Mordecai, man, be a man who's nothing, get raised up, get all this royalty, be ruling the earth, and so forth. Go ahead.
And while they were yet talking with him, came the king's chamberlains and hasted to bring Haman to the banquet that Esther had prepared.
And then now they came to Haman to bring him to the banquet that Esther prepared the day before. Yeah, and so now they've gone to bring Haman to the banquet, and then we're going to finish it off tomorrow with that. We're going to do the announcements and the prayers. Let's do that, and then tell us what's in the food if they want.
All right, well, I Mariam, we stand, the right face east. Start with the Lord's Prayer. Abanawa, Shabbat Shemayim, Kodash, Haya, Shankar, Yahweh, Malach, Daba'ah, Ratazaka, Haya, I.S.U.P.K, Ba'aratazah, Kawa, Haya, Ba'ashamayim, Lafandanawa, Lakam, Kal, Yuwam, Wasalaknawa, Kabawafnawa, Kasalaknawa, Kabawafinawa, Wala'a, W.I.N.A.W, Wanasaya 1, Abal, Hawashainawa, Mayan, Right, Kaya, Laka, Hamalakwa, Waha'ala, Wahafapara, La'aywalamya, Amen.
In the English, our Father, art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth, as it is in heaven, Give us this day, our daily bread, forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. So be it.
And the prayer for the power of the Hakka. Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh, Baba Kusha, Nafandanawa, Hakka, La Pa'a, Kal Makala, Wakal Madawa, Hakka, Laftaha, Hamatazarayim, Hakka, Lahakwiyam, Hamafiyam, Hakka, Arakawa, Hatama Allah, the Garashan, Bahashem Yahweh, the water Aman.
In the English, Yahweh.
In
the name of Yahweh. Please give us the power. The power to heal. All manner of sickness. All manner of disease.
And all manner of disease.
The power to cleanse the lepers.
The power to cleanse the lepers.
The power to raise the dead.
The power to raise the dead.
The power against unclean spirits.
The power against unclean spirits.
To cast them out.
In the
name of Yahweh.
In the name of Yahweh. Thank you.
So be.
And the blessings. Barakatah Yahweh, Wa Yahweh Shai, Wa Mayaka Allah, Wa Alahayim, Matazab Ya'ah, Allah Yohanna, Ha Allah Ha Saranyam, Ha Quatazayanyam, Ha Kaliyanyam, Wa Akwafyam, Yahweh, Wa Hashem Yahweh Shai, the water Aman.
Bless you, Yahweh. And Yahweh Shai. And Michael. And the angels. Commanding General Yohanna. The generals. The captains. The officers. The troopers. And the sisters. Yahweh. In the name of Yahweh Shai. Thank you. So be. Blessed you, Yahweh. King of heaven and earth. All things living. Yahweh. In the name of Yahweh Shai. Listen to us now. Right now. And evils. Curses. Punishment. Destruction. Death. To the heathen that speak against us, thy prophets, the teachers, the princes, the priests, the Israelite brothers, and the schools, and evil, curses, and punishment, destruction, death, to the heathen, and shake loose, the pockets of the rich of Israel, that refuse to give to the schools, force their riches, to enter into thy sanctuary, the evil, curses,
curses,
and punishment,
and destruction, and death
to the Edomites,
to the Edomites,
and the nations,
and
the drug dealers,
the court system,
the prison system,
the prison system,
Planned Parenthood,
Parenthood,
all the governments of our enemies,
enemies,
Amalek, synagogues and armies,
armies,
Roman Catholic Church,
Roman Catholic Church, the Pope,
Islam,
Christianity,
Egyptology,
Egyptology,
militia,
Ku
Ku
Klux Klan,
Aryan
Nation,
skinheads,
Pascal,
gay movement, lesbian movement, spies, workers of witchcraft, NASA space program, army, navy, air force, marines, Wall Street, open up the internet, the airways, the cable access channel, the radio channel, convict the spirit of any of thy people, to stop us, and brings with death, to all the heathens, that stand in the way, try to stop us, from broadcasting your word, throughout the planet Earth, let loose all the terrorists, cause to go, to and fro, through the earth, destroy all the terrorists, come against America, destroy them, their strongholds, let America shake, at the hands of the terrorists, let Yahushua, Michael, Gabriel, come down, to find sources, to all the heathen, that come up against us, speak thy word, to be known, by all the angels, that have done it, cause it to be spread, through the media, throughout the whole world, cause them to shake, at thy coming, in the name of Yahushua, thank you, always, so be. For the blessed Israel, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Barak Kanawa, Wayasha'ala, Wahaba, Sapaya, Barak Papa, Magan Hagan, Ba'ashem Yahushai, the one Aman, and what we said was, Lord, in the name of Jesus, bless us and Israel and the school, bless, heal, shield, protect our loved ones, in the name of Yahushai, thank you, and so be it. With that, one question to the teacher. Will of Israel, Imadiam Shabbat, Imadiam, Barak, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai B'Kadar, Yahweh Hashem Yahushai B'Kafam,
Yajamata, and Sar, the 10, one case to the sisters, Will of Israel, Imadiam Shabbat, Imadiam, Barak, Yahweh Shema, Alafar Ba'ashem Yahushai, Yajamata, class dismissed.